Good evening. Welcome to Drawing with a Maniac. My name's Brian Toner, and I'm here to draw with you today. So, you may have seen my coloring book I did, drawing Maineiac coloring. And so what we're going to do is we're going to draw kind of pictures that are similar to that. And if you haven't seen it, then you can always take a look at some of the free pictures that I've posted that are of the pages of that book. You can always go to the Facebook page. There's a couple samples there too. But the thing that we're going to do is just kind of draw some abstract pictures and go from there. So what I have for materials is I have this easel, and you don't really need an easel. Most of my drawings I did either on the tablet or I did on actual just white paper, and I scanned them into the computers afterwards. For these bigger sheets of paper, you might even have trouble, because for this instance, I'm going to have to take a photo of these and transfer them into the computer that way. So I don't even have the luxury of a scanner that way. So the materials I generally use when I do a drawing like this is just a simple pen, pencil, or and a piece of paper. This is a 18 by 24 piece of paper, so if you want to use an 18 by 24 piece of paper, feel free. It's not going to make any difference to your drawings. Other than if you want to do a lot more details, finer details, you can do a lot of fine details on a pad like this, whereas a 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, you're not going to be able to do quite as much fine detail. So, without any further ado, I'm going to begin drawing, and you can follow along and maybe get some ideas. These episodes are going to be about 20 minutes in length, so if you have any, questions about the finished drawing, those will probably be posted successively over time. Anyhow, thank you, and let's begin. So I think for this, I'm going to start by drawing something like that. And I have this nice little kind of imperfection here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, I think, draw off of that. This kind of reminds me a little bit of an apple, so maybe I'll kind of throw some kind of stemmy type thing on there. Maybe we'll make that into a central point of this drawing. Let's see. And I kind of like this circle design. So all I'm doing here is I'm just drawing circles around the perimeter of this. And you can see how that looks when we get done. This kind of border around an object like this reminds me a lot of, a locket or a pendant or something like that. So. You don't necessarily need to draw perfect circles or worry about mistakes. If you make a mistake, then that's not a problem. You can, figure out different ways of covering up those mistakes, but they aren't really mistakes, but more like happy accidents that kind of add character to your drawing here. So I think I'm going to leave that space at the top there for now. And next, I might start drawing some kind of border around this like that. Alright, so far we have some nice stuff going on here, and maybe we'll start off with something else down here. One thing I do like is to draw some flowers. And flowers aren't terribly difficult. I mean, you just start with kind of a circle, and depending on how many petals you want, you just draw off of it. Now, if all your petals aren't the same size, or your circle in the middle here isn't, perfect, that's really not, anything to worry about. These are very kind of abstract pictures anyway, so, it's not going to make any kind of difference. Next, I think I'm just going to draw something like that. Let's see what happens with it. And let's see. All right. And let's see what else we can do here. I kind of think that this can expand off of that, and then maybe I can draw some more stuff like that. Kind of looks like there's a little bit of a, mountain rangey type thing going on here. Either thorns or mountains or a combination of both. To me, at least, I'm always surprised what people think of my drawings when they see them. Sometimes they see things that are completely hidden to me, or were hidden to me. So it's always, fun experiments to show people your drawings. And sometimes they don't see stuff that you kind of intentionally put in there. So this is where we are so far. Okay, next. You know what? I'm kind of in a flower mood. So I'm going to draw another flower all the way up here. And this time, the one thing that you don't want to worry about too much is coming up against the edge of the paper. You might find yourself trying to squish your work so it fits, but don't do that. Just kind of let it flow. If it runs into the edge of the paper, it runs into the edge of the paper. If not, then it doesn't. But just make it so that it kind of naturally goes where it's supposed to go. Sometimes you'll plan something and it doesn't quite work out the way you intended. And if that's the case, just go with it. So now we have this nice looking flower here. And I think I'm going to fill in the center here with some circles. Sometimes circles, provide some nice, interesting texture for the picture. But on a picture like this, I have to be careful that I don't make it too complex. And the reason why is because if I shrink this down to 8.5 by 11, then I'm going to end up making some details way too fine and too hard for people to color in. Even in my pictures that I did, on the 8.5 by 11, there are just some details, I think, that were maybe a bit overwhelming for people. Alright. I'm just kind of moving quickly. You don't want to spend too much time on doing things, but, if you're trying to, get some entertainment out of doing this, take as much time as you want. It's not going to, you're not under any kind of time limit. Alright. Something else I like to add into my pictures is, I like some maybe feathery type shapes here. I'll have to figure out what to do with that one in a minute. throw another quill in there. Just like that. I'll finish that off. And then, maybe I'll throw a third one on here. And we can connect that up like this. So feathers and leaves and other kind of things are nice and natural shapes that are pretty easy to draw. But again, these are kind of abstractions a little bit, so it doesn't matter if you draw them, well, or if they look messed up. And the biggest thing that you have to worry about is practicing these types of things. So if you practice, then you're going to get better, and that's going to make all the difference in the world. And so, what can we draw? Sometimes it's nice just to draw some very, different lines around the paper and see what you can, get out of it. I also kind of like to box things in. So if I'm drawing, I can kind of box and consolidate areas around a little bit. So this allows you to maybe make some interesting, design choices. So this boxing in of these areas not only really helps you, but it can also help your anyone who's coloring in these drawings. They can, get some kind of guidelines about where to start and where to stop their, colorings. And because sometimes it can be really hard if you make your drawings a little too maze-like. For me, I kind of like to draw along the edges. I like to have a nice boundary as I go through this page. And sometimes I like to let things collapse over the edge, and sometimes I like to have them, be just nice, solid boundaries. I just say, do whatever you think makes it look the best. So right there, I'm just going to kind of close off this edge. Now, the one thing I have to worry about is smudging my hand all over this paper. I'm left-handed, so I sometimes get smudges. But those are all right. Now, this little area right here is probably going to be too small when I copy this onto the computer. At least if I do an 8.5 by 11 paper here. And I'm just kind of tracing around my flower now. Maybe I'll make some more, boundaries between these objects. Maybe this area will be a little more maze-like. There we go. And let's see what else we can do. I think maybe I'll do something like that. Just like that. Alright. You know what? I'll finish half that circle off. And now, why don't we do something like this? And so this picture's coming along really nicely. Let's see. So let's just continue to draw whatever. You know what else I like? Sometimes I like to throw like little tiny star-like shapes out there. You can even draw little circles and big circles. And maybe even, cloud-like shapes. Who knows what those are? They could be snowflakes, they could be stars. This kind of looks like a mountain range a little bit. Maybe I'll throw like a lake in there. Throw little tiny waves across it. There. So now we have ourselves a little tiny, landscape up at the very top here. And let's draw a few more things. You know what? I'm gonna make this feather just like that. So alright, so I think we're coming to the end of the video, so I think I'm going to finish up this area here. And so I'm kind of striping this feather. Maybe I'll add a little more detail to this later. That wasn't very good. But again, happy accidents. It gives it character. People generally don't focus in on your mistakes. And maybe they do. Maybe I just don't know about it when they do. And, I often like little spots on feathers. These aren't necessarily feathers. They can be whatever you want them to be. Just someone told me they look a lot like feathers, so that's what I like to do. And maybe we'll throw a few heart shapes on one of these feathers. I know birds don't produce hearts on their feathers. You can have like one sticking out this way and maybe one sticking out this way. Something like that. It's always interesting to make some of these drawings, and when you do them on paper, it tends to be that you can rotate your paper, but something like this is a little harder. I'm going to finish off that circle like that. And then, you know what? I'm going to do this. That's a bit of a interesting move I made there. So sometimes things don't work out quite the way you want them to. That's alright. Alright, so I think that we're at the end of our video. And so, thanks for joining me here. Next time, what we're going to do is we're going to finish off this drawing. Well, we're going to get as far as we can. And, so hopefully you enjoyed this. If you did, let me know. If you didn't, you can also let me know. If you have any comments, just let me know. And thanks for watching this, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any constructive criticisms, just let me know. So, yeah. So I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye.